What up, YouTube? Felipe here, bringing you guys another tier list video. Today we're going to talk about brokerages, and I've used all of them here. As you can see, there's a couple of them. Some of them are pretty controversial, and we'll get into it why. But either you're trading crypto or you're trading regular stocks, you've probably come across probably most of them now. And I want to highlight some of the best features in each of them and some of the worst things. And at this point, I've had accounts with a bunch of them at different points in time. So I wanted to share with you guys where I would rank them. So get us started. Webull. This one is interesting. I think they have great charts. And if you're someone that likes to do technical analysis on stuff, if you're an active trader, pretty good for it. But outside of that, it's pretty bare bones. The customer service is actually pretty ass. I'll be honest. So Webull will go as in mid. I believe they have a lot of potential. The platform actually is pretty good and pretty intuitive. But aside from the cool charts, and if you don't use charts as much, like I used to at some point, but not anymore, I think it's just kind of lackluster. So let's talk about this one's kind of controversial. Let's talk about FTX. So Sam Bankman-Fried, I'm sure all of you guys know about that guy. He ran one of the biggest Ponzi schemes in crypto. The guy just didn't have enough liquidity to fulfill on all the orders and promises he was promising. And they were a $32 billion company, which is crazy to think about. At one point, they just kind of collapsed overnight and took everybody's money with it. The guy is currently in jail. Dude's gone for probably a decade or two, hopefully his whole life, because whenever you bankrupt more than probably millions of people over their crypto, you should go to jail for life, in my opinion. But these guys rank as in D, as in criminals. These people are just not good business, I'll be honest. Let's talk about Schwab. This is very interesting. So I think they're one of the best all-around brokerages in the entire list. They have no fees, which is always great. They have an amazing customer support. Their infrastructure and UI is pretty great as well. They actually bought TD Ameritrade. They keep buying other companies and enhancing their portfolio. Schwab is pretty solid. Honestly, it's one of my favorites, and I've used them in the past. I used to transfer American Express points into Charles Schwab and trade over there with some of the money that I had. So Schwab, I think they're built different. They're one of the most competitive players in this industry of brokerages, and those guys know what they're doing. I certainly trust them. You can trade options with them as well. Those guys are pretty good, and I recommend them. Let's talk about Moomoo. This one's interesting. I think these guys are the biggest baiters in terms of free stocks. If you've ever seen a Moomoo ad, it's some of the likes of sign up and get 7 free stocks on us. Like, who's giving out money like that, you know? These people will bait you into getting some of these free stocks and these promotions. It's kind of like a Webull or Robinhood knockoff. This one's kind of like Temu of the brokerage accounts. In my opinion, I would proceed as caution with Moomoo. I've had a Moomoo account in the past. I put $100 in there just to see how it works because I wanted to find out. I mean, you can get all these free stocks and all this good stuff, but you know, my free stocks ended up being like $4 worth of stuff because they give you like partial shares or penny stocks or stuff like that. So definitely proceed with caution. Maybe they're turning around and it's going to get a lot better, but as of now, in my experience, has been just fine. Let's talk about E-Trade. I have this one for work, and it used to be the gold standard before everyone else caught up to them. They're just fine, I think, in my opinion. I think it's difficult to read some of the charts and look at past performance. I only use it because of the work stuff and some of the shares from the company sit there right now. And honestly, I'm kind of indifferent. I'll rank them as mid. Like if I were to choose a brokerage, I certainly would not choose E-Trade to trade my stuff just because their UI is not the best. They're just kind of right there. So they're going to sit as mid in my opinion. Maybe I have to use them more. So this one's interesting. Let's talk about Vanguard. These guys have been in the industry for so long now. If you've ever heard of index funds, these guys are running it. They're beasts. I think their platform is decent, honestly. Their ETFs are definitely a lot better. Their UI is just not updated at all. This thing is like 15 years old, it feels like. So in my opinion, I'm going to rank it as mid. Vanguard in itself is a great company and they run great index funds. And this is actually kind of a funny story, but when I was 18 or maybe I was 17, I wanted to open a brokerage account and I wanted to start investing in stocks. And I did not know what I was doing at all. I opened a Vanguard account and I started clicking around in there. And the minimum that you could invest in at the time, maybe it was a mutual fund or an index fund. I didn't really know what I was doing. It was 5 grand. And I didn't have that money. I had like 3 grand. And I thought I was on top of the world. I was like 18 years old. And I ended up calling them. I was like, hey guys, I want to invest in stocks. how can I how can I invest in stocks with the platform? And they're like, hey, you need like 5 grand. And then I called Wells Fargo and asked them the same thing. And they were like, you need 10 grand. So I think these are probably for like their money management people. But either way, Vanguard is a beast. I have their index funds in my retirement accounts, all of them actually. In it's just a funny story. Yeah, I just think the UI is not the best. They're kind of behind on everything. But aside from that, I think they're pretty solid. Let's talk about one of my favorites, Robinhood. This one is pretty controversial, I'll be honest. If all of you have heard of the GameStop debacle, whenever they didn't have enough liquidity to cover their shorts or their longs, whatever it was, they couldn't fulfill on it. So just so you guys understand, like a brokerage, like Robinhood or any of these guys mostly, they are just an intermediary between you and the stock. So companies like Citadel, for example, they're the ones actually holding the stock, or different market makers, they actually step in there too to make the market. So whenever you are trading options, for example, like I do, and you put a ask order, right? You're trying to buy this option for whatever amount. A lot of market makers, they play in that space where they come and provide liquidity to Robinhood so you can fulfill on that order. So this is a long story just to say that they're kind of an intermediary. They're not necessarily responsible for holding your stocks. Other companies do that. They're just a brokerage. They're a broker, like a real estate broker. Whenever you buy a house, they don't own the house. So in my opinion, aside from all the controversy, I think Robinhood goes in A tier. And maybe I'll get flack for this, and let me know what you guys think in the comments. I think their UI is insane. I think it's so intuitive to use the app. I do not like the whole thing with gambling and prediction markets that they're implementing. It is the future, and I'm sure they make a lot of money from it. Just not my thing. I don't want to have my investments with prediction markets. Like, they don't go hand in hand. But aside from that, I think trading options on Robinhood is probably one of the best platforms to do so. And even holding some of your Roth IRA money, they actually match it with your gold subscription. So this is something to think about. I like them. I've been using them for years. And let's talk about the next runner-up, Acorns. This one, honestly, I was surprised how ass it was. So they have this whole gimmick where they're like, hey, like we'll match up to the nearest dollar so you can save money. But then you have to pay money to use the platform. Like, what's the whole point? You're putting in like $3.60 every month, but then you're paying like $5 to run it. Like, what's going on here? These guys, I wouldn't put them as criminals because they probably aren't, but I'll rank them as C. Honestly, was not the biggest fan of the platform. It was not super intuitive. I understand the concept of saving and grabbing like micro wins. Just not my thing though. I think the platform costs money, and like, why would you charge money to trade? Like all of these other platforms, they make money other ways. So in my opinion, I would proceed with caution. This one is one of controversial as well, maybe. Coinbase. I used to trade on Coinbase a lot actually while I was in college. I was into crypto. I think their platform's super intuitive. They're somewhat of a Robinhood of the crypto space. However, I'll rank them as mid, or actually I'll rank them as caution. They had this massive data leak a couple of years back. I think it was last year. Not good. The platform in itself is pretty good. Brian Armstrong is actually very legit. The guy that runs Coinbase. If you've never seen him talk or seen a podcast of him, the dude's pretty smart. And he definitely runs a pretty big company at this point. So definitely a big fan. But I think they're still in their infancy. And with the big data leak, it's just kind of tough to justify that. M1 Finance is honestly the dark horse I think with any conversations, whenever it comes to brokerages, these guys are so good. If you've never had an M1 Finance account, I recommend you go check it out. A couple of things: you can trade options in there, and that's probably the biggest downside. But if you're just a buy and hold investor and you like to have like pie investing or have sections of your money allocated to certain industries, this app is probably one of the better ones. Their investment model kind of lets you automate your portfolio in ways that the other ones don't. They buy and sell some of your stocks and whatever holdings you have in there, so they match your 25%, 20% allocation. So you always stay within the percentage that you wanted. These guys go as A. I think in a couple of years, they might go up as built different. In my opinion, S tier. And you can actually have an S block natively in M1 Finance. So for those of you that don't know, an S block is a securities backed line of credit, and you can actually borrow against your portfolio up to a certain amount and use that money to do other stuff. And actually have pretty low rates, I think 4.5%, which is very competitive. So if you have to raise money for some reason and you don't have an M1 Finance account, or you're raising money other way with that you're paying more than 4.5%, I certainly recommend you check out M1 Finance, because these guys are pretty phenomenal. Somewhat of a newer platform. Nobody talks about it much, but I'm a big fan, and I'll open an account with them whenever I get the chance again. Crypto.com. These guys are similar to Coinbase, not necessarily FTX level. I don't know. You could stake massive cryptos with them back in the day whenever crypto was going crazy. I staked a lot of crypto with them. I'm going to put them in caution because I haven't used them in a while. They could be pretty good. I don't know. But in my opinion, whenever I used them, it was kind of clunky. The UI wasn't the best. I prefer Coinbase, but they offered such aggressive staking APY for your crypto back in the day. I'm sure they still do. That it just made more sense going with them. But again, I'm not necessarily super well versed, so I'll rank them as C. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Share a little bit more about what I think of these different platforms. I've used all of these platforms in the past in different capacities, like I explained. I'm sure there's been a good bit of change within these different ones. And let me know in the comments where you guys think. Let me know if I missed one or two, or if you would rate these any different. So don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. I appreciate you guys being here. And if you're made it this far, I want to see you guys win. I'll talk to you soon.